This is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com, and we're here for another episode of Fast Action Fridays. I have my favorite chef in the house, Chef Dennis D Sturtz, who's got tons of experience, professional experience in restaurants, hotel management, Culinary Institute of Michigan, and cooking for moi in our own home kitchen. Now he's specializing in making it easy for home cooks to eat healthier, wiser, and less expensively in their home kitchens. Glad to have you join us today, Chef. You even got dressed up for us today.
Yep, I decided what the heck. Let's play the part too, right?
Well, you know I love a man in uniform, so what can I say? And a white uniform. Next best to that, Chef, is the navy whites. What's better than that? Except somebody in a white uniform serving you food, good food. Well, some of you watching live and some of you watching the replay will know that Dennis and I have deliberately been on a food journey since towards the end of April. We decided to follow the Virgin diet as best we could, given a few little tweaks here and there, for the sole purpose of seeing if we had food intolerances. And in order to do that, we were worried that we wouldn't be able to afford it. We're on a tight budget anyway. And that's the same scenario for many, many people. But we found a way to make it work for us. And wouldn't you agree, Dennis, that overall we've actually spent less on food the last month and a half than more on food by being deliberate in what we are choosing and planning ahead?
Well, I think it's been pretty close, to be honest with you.
Yeah, pretty close, but we don't spend as much on food anyway.
No, we don't. But and the key to whether no matter, if you're following the Virgin diet or whatever, the key to most of it is planning. You need to plan ahead what you're looking at doing and being able to think, okay, so if I buy a 3-pound roast, obviously the two of us aren't going to eat a 3-pound roast. So now what is it we're going to do with the leftovers? What's the best way to work with it?
Right.
Keeping in mind, in this particular case, the Virgin diet that we were on, and looking at the things that we were staying away from on each given week. And that makes a big difference. But it would be, no matter what, whether you're doing it on a diet or just, your normal way of living, so to speak, I guess, planning ahead is the best thing.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
Buying smart.
Buying smart. And part of our success in saving money and making this an affordable experiment for us, because we will decide in 2 weeks what we will continue doing that we enjoyed now and found out about our food intolerances. You really haven't found any. I found out I'm gluten insensitive. Don't have an allergy to it. I'm insensitive to it, which means when I had it for a day or two, my hands puffed up, my face puffed up. Suddenly my sleep cycle was off where I'd been getting wonderful sleep, waking up refreshed. Now I'm back to feeling drained and fatigued all day long, and I don't like that. So I'm going to be cutting a lot of gluten from my diet going forward. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the Virgin diet, what you basically do is for 3 weeks, you give up 7 food ingredients. You give up soy, gluten, dairy, eggs, peanuts, corn, and sugars and artificial sugars. Okay. And the first thought is, oh my God, there's nothing left to eat. But we found once we looked at what was allowed, there are tons of things to eat. And we planned ahead, starting 3 months before we actually went on the journey, and started swapping out what we would normally buy for what was allowed. So some of our flours changed. I bought the packet of stevia, which is an organic allowed sugar substitute. It's not an artificial sugar. It's a naturally occurring. We bought palm fruit oil, which we've grown to love, never even knew it existed. Bought rice crackers instead of our regular Townhouse delicious regular crackers. So that was part of what we did. And we were spending the same amount and we were filling our pantry with good things. And we've continued to do that. So that's the first fast action tip I have. And then I'm going to let Dennis share some more tips. My first tip is plan ahead and start swapping out what you would normally buy for healthier versions of what you expect to eat. Fill your pantry. So even though the cost may seem a little higher for that box you're buying right now, if you're going to be portioning it out over several weeks or a couple months, look at the meal cost of that and determine and commit to wanting to eat healthier. And you will find that you can afford it. Go ahead, let go of something else. We didn't buy pizzas for 5 weeks now. We haven't had a pizza. So that's like $14 saved every week right there that we've put through more healthier food. All right, Dennis, tell us more about some of the tips from the chef's point of view. And make sure to speak up so we don't lose your voice.
Well, again, planning ahead. And with this diet, I was surprised, but you're eating a lot of beef. You're allowed pork, chicken, seafood.
Bacon.
Well, yeah, bacon for you. I guess I didn't realize until late in the game that bacon was an allowable thing, but I forgot that bacon for you is a completely different, whole new food group. But the surprising thing, like I say, was that there really isn't anything that you couldn't eat. Matter of fact, it was encouraged that you eat beef and pork, and it's always been recommended, to eat chicken and seafoods because with seafood you get the omega-3s. With chicken, you're dealing with a lot less calories, but the high protein content is what they're striving for. And I guess that's one of the reasons for the red meat is there's a lot of protein in red meat.
Right.
And I know, that nowadays there's a big move to the vegetarian or the vegan style of living. And I found that with this virgin diet, I'm eating a lot more vegetables than I used to. But it's nothing like I'm not eating tofu I've had it and I'm not a big tofu fan. So I don't mean to insult anybody out there who likes tofu.
But that was soy. So except for the week we tested soy, tofu would have been off our allowable foods anyway.
Right.
But
I mean, when we think about vegetarians and stuff, that's one of the things that seems to be a staple for a protein is tofu.
Right.
I found I think dairy was one of the things I missed the most, and eggs.
Right.
Dairy being cheeses because we're not allowed to have the cheeses, and I like cheese. Although I'm sure there's going to be once I start trying it, I'm going to have some kind of reaction to bringing back cheese into my diet. Eggs is a big one because eggs are something that you use not just for eating, a fried egg in the morning or a scrambled egg or whatever, but they're in a lot of recipes.
Right.
And like breads, staying away from glutens, like you said, we've gotten into other flours, which is nice. Some of the other flours are I think they're good, period, for anybody to be using, not just for the gluten factor, but for the health factor.
Right. And we changed what type of protein you and I use in a shake from a whey-based one, which is dairy, to a pea and rice pea which is a vegan. You're talking green or yellow peas, the vegetable, or a pea rice protein. They were a little more expensive in the regular stores or a health food store because we want to focus on the cost savings that today. But I was able to find them also on Amazon at almost equal the price that we were paying for the whey proteins. So that's one thing. We also knew that we couldn't follow the virgin diet exactly as it was laid out. We're in a rural area. Finding grass-fed beef and pork and poultry, that was difficult. And where we did find it, it was really out of our budget. So we tried to mitigate that by choosing good brands, reading labels, making sure that you were getting the ones with the least amount of added ingredients. You found a wonderful turkey deli meat at Kroger's that didn't have the soy added, didn't have the sugars added, didn't have the whey proteins or casein added. And it was at an affordable price. So you just switch that out for what we would normally buy from the deli, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And again, I had to ask the person behind the deli department, do you carry a product that is basically, I hate to use the word natural because there are so many products that are selling. That's their tagline. That this is all natural. It's like, yeah, it's all natural. Now check the sugar content and the sodium content and see how natural it became. It may be natural, but it's probably not exactly healthy for you.
Right.
Uh, but
I'm glad you brought that up because when we spent a lot of time reading labels, and don't be fooled by the processed foods that say they're organic, they're natural, they're whatever, they're low calorie, low fat, low sugar, low salt. It may be low salt, but loaded with sugars. And you're paying for all of that extra stuff to go in there. So you have to go in looking for the food you actually want to eat and be very diligent in reading those labels. All right, I want to go to a specific thing because I know this is one of the places where we save a ton of money, and people are going to be surprised that we do a lot of our shopping in the clearance sections of even fresh produce and fruits, right?
absolutely.
So
Um,
what would we look for there to save money?
well, again, you're looking for a quality product. I mean, sometimes when it's reduced, let's say you find a bag of spinach that's reduced. Um, I mean, and if it's totally soggy and the leaves are all wet, that's not a good bargain at any price. Um, but a lot of times stores will, if it's a day or two out of the expiration date, they will put it on a reduced shelf. And there are just so many bargains. Um, like scallions, for instance, you may find green onions that you're buying, let's say, two for $1, but because they had to reduce them, now you're buying two for 30 cents. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and again, as long as you're looking at the quality, you're saving a lot of money. Um, Things like cereals, and we don't eat a lot of the natural. I mean the store bought puffed rice, that kind of cereal. Um, but people who do, even those, you'll find there's an expiration date, and what an expiration date means is just that the people who manufacture the product are saying that this product is not at its peak after this date. I repeat, not at its peak. Is it totally spoiled? Is it something you need to throw away? Absolutely not. I mean, things you do have to watch are like dented cans, um, because going back to when we were younger, mom used to always tell you, watch the dented can, and the dented can it basically is because um, it could have a hole in it, and bacteria could be growing in it, and consequently you can become very ill from it. Um, But there are just so many products out there that you can buy. I, Peanut butter, for instance, and we've been staying away from peanuts. Um, but peanut butter is another one that the expiration date has expired. But that peanut butter is good for at least 6 months to a year if it's unopened. So instead of paying $3.50 for that jar of peanut butter, and now you're paying $1.99 for that peanut butter. It's the same peanut butter. And yes, it's 2 months older than it was when it first hit the shelf, but it's not spoiled. It's a good product. So
Right.
consequently, it's saving you money in the long run. Meats. Grocery stores do a lot with meats, especially if you go to a store on a Thursday, maybe a Friday morning. You'll find that some of their meats, because maybe they were out since Wednesday, they may reduce those meats. Are they bad? Absolutely not. And most stores will tell you when they put reduced on it, they will say either use immediately or freeze. So if you can buy a steak that was normally $7 a pound, and now you can pay $4 a pound for that same steak, and you wanted it anyway. There's the other key. You need to have wanted it. I mean, that's the old analogy. You
Yeah,
know,
you have to have a
I
plan for
bought it
using that.
exactly. I bought it because it was on sale. And look at all the money I saved. Yeah, but if he couldn't use it to begin with, what difference does it make? Um, and that's the way. That's the way I've learned to buy. And when you are eating more health conscious, and you are looking for bargains, um, you're going to increase your shopping time probably by at least 30 to 50%. So if normally you
Especially at
go
the
in the
beginning until you get used to shopping the perimeter of the store and reading labels and knowing what, because as time goes on, you can reduce that time, right? Because you're already familiar with certain products to stay away from certain products because you've read their labels certain times. I want to just piggyback on what you're talking about buying things that are that have been reduced, marked down. When you bring them home, you have to have a plan for using them. Some things like produce need to be used right away. Things like meat can be prepped and either cooked and frozen or prepped and frozen um, using good freezer bags. We love the Food Saver system, which takes the air out and vacuum seals it. And we know when we take it out of that freezer later, it's still going to be peak quality. And then once you thaw it out to use it, right?
yes, and that's again that's a good key, Kathy, that you must. Um, what's the word I want to use? You must um, try to retain the quality when you do bring it home, if in freezing and or refrigeration and or usage. Like you say, you either use it immediately or you prepare it so that it can be frozen and used at another date. Um, but I think somebody who's going to try it for the very first time um, will find that I would venture a guess that they could probably save a minimum of 10 to 15% off their regular bill by doing just that. And it'd be nice to see. I've never done any kind of study of it, but it would be nice to see what, maybe taking somebody shopping for the first time and walking with them through the store and helping them with the new system, so to speak, of buying. But it'd be interesting to see how much that you can save by doing just that.
Right.
I know over the years, even just using, like you say, we use the food saver system, and I've used that professionally in restaurants that I've worked at. We use a system similar to that when I was at the Culinary Institute of Michigan. Um, but you can save literally thousands of dollars a year by sealing something properly, and keeping it in the freezer because it will keep the quality. Another thing I needed to touch on real quick in vacuum sealing or freezing properly is that you can buy, let's say you've got chicken breast on sale, and they sell them in a family pack. So they've got like 8 chicken breast in a package, and your normal meal is 2 tops. But you can take and prepare those individually, wrap them, freeze them in a freezer system, and when you want them, you can pull them out, and you've bought them at that reduced saving price. So now you're not spending $4 for chicken breast a pound. Now you're being able to use it at that $1.99 that you bought it on sale for.
Right.
You can even, like you mentioned, you can even cook or pre-cook things like chicken breast,
Right.
and freeze them so that when you come home from work and you want that homemade meal, and as opposed to stopping at some fast food place, you can pull out those chicken breast, and in a matter of minutes, you could have a meal, stir fry, just a baked chicken breast, or there are pastas. There are, gosh knows, hundreds of ways to work with those products.
Right. I want to get to Cindy's question. She's a solo person living alone at the moment. And she says, there are times that I find buying prepared items from the hot bars is better because of the time saved, and that if I'd purchased all of the ingredients separately, I wouldn't do it or would waste it as in lasagna or casseroles. I am amazed that the store cooked rotisserie chickens are less expensive than buying the raw chicken. Well, yes and no. You are buying the convenience. It depends on what they do with them. We do buy them. We actually like the Walmart rotisserie chicken, and we get that occasionally. We'll buy a roasted chicken once in a while. And again, we will divvy it up and save it over time, because even though Dennis and I live in the same household, we don't always eat at the same time. And sometimes we need those solo meals. It's not always cheaper to buy the prepared, though, is it, Dennis? I mean, we got a whole fryer chicken for 88 cents a pound, a week and a half ago. And you demoed and we videotaped you prepping it with the herbs and cooking it, and how many meals have we gotten out of that? We had regular traditional meals where we sliced it, and then the bits and pieces we saved, and we've been throwing it on salads. So what else would you other advice would you give for Cindy on that,
Well,
besides having a good way to freeze things and save things?
actually, what you were saying, Kathy, is true. But again, Cindy has a point. There are nowadays things like rotisserie chickens in the store. Cindy, it's definitely hard to believe how cheaply or how economically they can sell a cooked product like that. And I have to agree with you. There are times where buying those products are definitely um, time saving, and sometimes even money saving. I mean, Kathy, you mentioned we bought that whole frying chicken, and yes, it was only 88 cents a pound, but we also ended up spending over $7 for that chicken, whereas in a Walmart type situation or prepared, you can buy that chicken already cooked for under $7.
Right.
So again, it's a matter of looking at um, uh, what's your best way of operating with the system. The one big thing, Cindy, I would have to say with prepared products, things like lasagna and things of that nature, is you're not sure exactly what was put into that, the preservatives that went into that. Whereas if you do it at home, yes, it takes you time. But again, you could make a lasagna casserole and bake it off, and then portion it up and freeze it in individual portions so that it becomes convenient for you. Just you think tomorrow you're going to want a lasagna dinner, so you go into the freezer, you pull it out today, put it on a plate, thaw it out in your freezer. Tomorrow you can either microwave it, put it back in the oven, warm it up, and now you've got your own homemade lasagna where you've been able to pick and choose the ingredients you wanted in it, and you can stay away from. And the biggest thing with prepared products is sodium. Um, they just
And
it's a great
sugars.
and sugars, but they're both great preservatives. And I'm sorry to say that's one of the things that you avoid, Cindy, by doing things like casseroles and stuff yourself.
Right. The other thing, because we're talking about processed foods again, a lot of people don't realize how many fillers are in processed food. Like you buy a bag of shredded cheese, for instance, and you think, oh, I'm getting this wonderful bag. It's already shredded. I don't have to go to the bother. But you may be gluten sensitive and not realize that the reason that shredded cheese comes out of that bag nice and loose the way it is often because it's dusted with a wheat-based flour. Now, if you don't know you're gluten insensitive, or even if you are and it's going to affect you negatively, was it in your best interest to save a couple moments of time, or even what looked like a dollar saving to buy a prepared cheese, already sliced or already shredded? We usually buy ours in bulk, but not too big of packages. I don't know how Dennis is on your screen. He's a little bit frozen on my screen right now. We're getting down to the end. There, he's back. We're getting down to the end of today. We're talking about saving money in the kitchen with guest chef Dennis D Sturtz from You Can Cuisine. I did put his Facebook page in the chat. I'm going to do that again. He has a channel on YouTube. You can just go YouTube and then search Dennis D Sturtz. It'll come up. I'm also on YouTube, and he's done with me a lot of videos with short tips for eating healthy on a shoestring budget. So you're going to want to check those out. Our main tips today were to plan ahead. Start swapping out what you've been buying for a healthier version. So the hit to your budget is less at the moment. You're not going to start buying completely differently on one day because you're going to see a huge spike as you switch things out. Also, the benefit of easing into it like that is your rotation for those things is going to be spread out over time. We've grown to love a particular rice pasta. We didn't even like the wheat pastas that were out there. They had no flavor whatsoever, but we found a rice pasta that's absolutely delicious, only pennies more to buy a bag comparable to what we were having before. So, yep, it cost us a few pennies more, but we're getting the nutritional value out of that. Another tip was to go ahead and shop the reduced and clearance areas of the store, but do it wisely. Know what you're buying, what the quality is you're looking for, and have a plan for using that or storing it when you get home so you don't waste what was a bargain in the first place. And the other thing is, which we only kind of touched on a little bit, stop buying the junk food. We didn't buy pizzas for a while. We'll probably have one in the future because we do like them. We like Jack's Pizza, believe it or not. That costs us like $3 and feeds both of us. It's in the freezer section, by the way. We didn't buy chips. Chips, even on sale, 2 bags of chips for $6. That looks like a bargain. But what could you buy for $6? You can buy a whole lot of veggies and good fruits with $6.
But you can buy chips for $2 too.
And we found it wasn't so much the food we missed as we were going on this journey. We missed the texture of foods that we were used to, grabbing that salty, crispy thing at night. So we're not going to bed with, heavy calorie laden or extra fat laden foods just before we go to sleep.
Kat, do I have a couple of minutes? I see Cindy's posted a couple of really
Yep, you
quick
do.
questions.
I'll let you
And
answer those, and we'll keep the recording going too, because it's probably good information for other people.
Cindy says sometimes, that are you saying that sometimes they take out some of the things and add salt and sugars as fillers? I was talking about the hot spots, not the packaged foods. And Cindy, yeah, even some of the hot spots, again, I'm going to use lasagna as a good, for instance, they probably have kicked in a little bit more sodium in it because it's got to have some shelf life. It's got to sit in that hot box for a little longer than you would at home. But
and they probably used a
again,
prepared product too, right?
possibly it could be a Stouffer's brand, but the odds are I would doubt it. Like places like Walmart and things like that, in some of these stores, they're pretty much, a lot of them are doing quote unquote homemade stuff. They have their um, uh, commercial um, uh, corporate kitchens that they work a lot of it out of. So um, there are, again, stuff in hotspots, Cindy, that are good. They still are a healthy product. I have to admit that. You just have to kind of watch and ask. Don't be afraid to ask them, how much sodium is in this or how much sugar is in this, if that's something you're concerned with. Um, but no, there's a lot of good products at hotspots. I have to admit that. And again, they make it very convenient. And that's the reason. And a lot of them, even on the hotspots, they are concentrating on the fact that they are trying to be a little bit healthier because they know we, as the public, are more concerned about eating healthy and watching those things.
Right.
So that was a great question.
She's got one more here too, and I'm going to read it so we get so we make sure and hear everybody, hear everything. Would you give us a couple of products you found that were healthier and the same priced or lower that tasted good?
Well, I don't know if we're talking
the
about
Rice and Shine hot cereal was one of them, right, Dennis? The rice cereal instead of farina or cream of wheat.
Yeah, if we're talking about, I don't know if she was talking about hot spots or prepared foods, but
Just
it's called Rise and Shine cereal, and it's pretty much like cream of wheat, only of course there's no gluten in it, and the product it's an excellent product, and it's so much healthier for you. And again, if you're worried about gluten, that's definitely a concern. Um, and the cost, in fact, is about the same, if not a little bit cheaper. Um, what would be another one that we've tried?
the buckwheat one too. We fell in love with the taste of buckwheat as a hot cereal. And then we make our own mixes too. You take the buckwheat and the coconut, shredded unsweetened coconut, and chia seed and hemp hearts, and you mix it together, and you've got what maybe a half the cost of buying it already prepared, mixed together.
Right. I mean, again, like you said, initially there's a cost to buy all of those products, but they go so much farther, and there's only little amounts that go into combining and blending your own product. So in the long run, it's not all that much more expensive than buying the product itself.
Right.
So
Here's something else we found, and I don't know if this is as true for Dennis as it is for me, but on the first 3 weeks that we eliminated the first 7 high food intolerance items that I mentioned earlier: soy, gluten, dairy, eggs, corn, peanuts, artificial sweeteners. Did I get them all in there? I think I got them in there. I was never hungry. I mean, we ate regularly and we had our snacks, and I was never hungry once, except at a regular, it's time to eat, mealtime. Once we hit the soy week, and especially this week as we're going through the gluten test week, nothing filled me up. Nothing felt satisfying. And I craved more and more food. And a lot of foods, a lot of processed foods are deliberately put together with ingredients that make you crave more. That's one of the problems with artificial sweeteners and people drinking the diet Cokes or other diet soda pops if you're in Michigan, soda everywhere else. It makes you crave more of that product or a similar product that's going to give you that fix. All right. Cindy's also got, first, Michael, Mann, our frugal web guy, said a lot of the time the healthier does not have to be more, but got to read those labels and shop smart. That was really surprising where all of those other ingredients are hidden. You know, we thought we could have soy sauce, soy wheat, but it also had wheat and sugars. So we didn't do that. Cindy also writes, I know sometimes you take out the junk and put in healthier stuff and you are filled up faster than on the junk food. Yes. And that's just what I alluded to there. I was perfectly happy, and we haven't given up everything. I mean, we found a inexpensive dark chocolate candy bar at Kroger that I bought four for $5, so $1.25 a piece. It's got four 1 ounce squares in it. 1 ounce square is satisfying, especially if you pair that with some raw nuts, if you're not allergic to raw nuts. I don't drink much dairy anymore. We've gone mostly to coconut milk. Check your labels. There, coconut milk, canned coconut milk came in different brands, ranging in price from $4 plus to the brand we found we liked most that had nothing but a little gar gum added to it, which is an allowable ingredient, for $1.33 a can, same size can. That's a huge difference in price. And you wouldn't know, you would think that the one that said organic or the one that was higher priced would be the better product, and it was not. Yeah. Anything to finish it up with us, Dennis, and then we'll pause.
Pretty much just, again, eating healthier is something you have to want to do. It's something you have to concentrate on when you're shopping, when you're preparing, and when you're thinking about, leftovers and those things. But it's easy to do. And one of the side effects that we did not mention is, so far, and I had no intentions of losing weight, but so far I've dropped 20 pounds.
And I've done about 10 in that time. And we didn't go in, a lot of people go into this looking to lose weight. That was not one of our goals. We wanted to make it a very easy goal. Our goal was simply to find out what food intolerance we may or may not have. And it was a day-by-day choice to continue. We're on the downside. The first 3 weeks ended up the easiest for us, but we were already into fresh fruits and vegetables and had started making the transition before we started. The testing weeks we're doing now, they're proving to be a little trickier because you deliberately have to eat a meal that contains one of the 4 test foods. And think about it. Bread has sugar, wheat, eggs, and often a dairy product in it if it's got butter or something in. Okay, that's 4 products, and you're only testing gluten. So what are you going to have for the gluten? We did go with a cracked wheat bread because the amount of egg you get in that is minimal. We decided to eat out at an Asian restaurant where we could get more of the soy easily in our diet, and bought miso soup, for our meal, which is a soy-based soup. So you plan ahead. The other thing, and I want to leave people with today, and I know Chef Dennis agrees with me with this. What is your cost? So what is it costing you to your health, to your livelihood, to your clarity and focus of mind when you spend money on foods that aren't nourishing your body instead of spending a little bit more on the food, or finding ways to spend the same amount but buying things that are healthier for you? will you be able to reduce your health doctor costs, your sick time? I know the changes for me in clarity, in sleep, have been absolutely astounding to me. So figure out what you're going to commit to. If you commit to eating healthier, there is a way to do it and still save money and not exceed what you have planned to spend for it. You just have to be wise about it and plan. Last words, Dennis, before I stop the recording.
Yep. One quick thing, Michael, you great idea, great thought. Michael says you start small and deliberate, and that pretty much sums up a lot of it, Michael. You hit the nail on the head. I guess in signing off, that if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me at my UCAN Cuisine Facebook page. And we're working on, I do have some YouTube videos and so on and so forth. But please feel free to contact me at my site, and I'll be willing to answer any questions that you have for you. And it's been a pleasure. It's nice to see the interest that everybody is showing in eating healthy, and I appreciate your time. I want to thank everybody for being on board, and we'll see you at another time.
All right, this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with our favorite house chef, Chef Dennis D Sturtz from UCAN Cuisine. This is another episode wrapping up for Fast Action Friday. See you next week.